Welcome everyone to something that I have not done before, and that is responding to comments on Final Fantasy XVI review. I'm gonna go through all of the comments and bring out some topics, talk, and see how it goes. Next review will be Diablo 4, and depending on how this goes, I might do a response to that, and that's gonna be an interesting one, I can already tell. So, anyway, regarding my response and all that, I don't really care about people's feelings. So if you feel offended or anything, that's on you. I really don't care about that, as I don't care about people posting whatever nonsense comments in the comment section about me or the channel or whatever, or the videos. It's just how that works. So don't, if you can, don't get offended. If you can't be offended, doesn't matter. That's also a feeling to have. Nothing wrong with being offended. So anyway, I'm going to try to go and be as precise in my response as possible, but do note that my grammar and my English is far worse when talking live. So there's going to be a lot of mistakes. Obviously, English is not my first language, but I'm going to try my best. There's going to be some editing as well when I do mistakes, quick cuts and so on. So bear in mind that as well. Overall, I have to admit that there's been a lot of positive comments and that a lot of people do agree with a lot of things that I've said in the review. And I do like to think that I do objective reviews as much as possible, even though every review is subjective in the end to an extent. But at least I give you an analysis of things, what works and what doesn't work to my best capability. And then it's on you to decide if you want to buy the game, not buy the game. I just try to present things in most unbiased manner as possible. I do think I'm all right at that, and that's why a lot of people do really respond well to my reviews. Now, there are also very emotional people that can't stand some things, and then if review is overly positive, they just don't like that I praise some parts of the game, but I never really go into, and the other way around, that people don't like that I criticize some parts. And the problem with the people today is that if you criticize something, they automatically think that you hate something or that you don't like. That's not the case. Black and white is not the world we live in. Black and white are not the games we play. Everything is in between. There are some good things, there are some bad things. As long as if you try to detach your emotions from playing the game, at least to some extent, to think about what you're playing, you're going to see a lot of the things that I see in these games as well, and that a lot of people on the channel that are part of the community see as well. I do pride myself of the community, not pride myself, but I'm proud of the community that has been on RPG Division for some time now. Really smart people know what they're talking about, and there are some really good discussions on Discord as well. People that really know how to look at games, and we don't have to agree. We don't agree a lot of times, but that's fine. That's how people grow, by listening to other people's opinions. So anyway, let's go into the comment section and start from the top. I'm gonna go from newest first, and I'll try to bring attention to most to comments that make sense to respond. Let's leave it at that. Anyway, first comment, good objective review. Thank you very much. It's a no buy for me. I don't know why Square has an allergy on difficulty modes. Now, this is a good point. I don't know why Square has an allergy on difficulty modes, because I played a lot of Square games lately, and honestly, I wasn't challenged at almost any single one of them. And that's a good point. They need to do something about it. I think they have lost their way a little bit, but there's one comment pointing that specific thing out, which I'm gonna get to later on. There's been one reply that says objective. All the guys laughing at him saying an objective. That's fine. You do you. I try to be as objective as possible. But as I said, final score is always subjective. Always. Dissecting the game and things you like, you don't like, that's a lot of subjectiveness to it. And how much fun you have, how much you enjoyed the game. That's all subjective. But you can objectively analyze things in the game to see how good they work. Then we have Dark Scouter Gamer, good review. I love to see the diverse opinions of others. I do disagree myself because I loved the game. As I said, that's a subjective thing. I like the game, but I don't love it, I don't hate it, I don't dislike it. It's a completely subjective sphere of judging a game. It's not objective in any sort of way. And a lot of I love the game a lot, and definitely is an 8 out of 10 for me, out of 10. Most story-wise, it's probably 8, but I can definitely see the argument for some of the stuff you said as well. I'll keep playing and see if my opinion changes, but for now, keep being awesome. Thank you very much. So this is a mature response. He can see the argument. He can see that I'm talking about things that have raised some eyebrows, raised some questions, but for him, still, he's playing the game is an 8 out of 9 game. I can't disprove that. That's his version of the final score that he would give the game based on enjoyment or liking something, and so that's good. I got no problem with that. I don't think in my world this game can never reach an 8 or 9 because I'm really rigid when it comes to critiquing games, and I do value a lot of things that needs to work together. 8 for me is a great game, and I can't just put this as a great game. It can be. Well, it can't be. They would need to redo a lot of things. But he still plays the game. So that opinion on this game changed for me after spending 50, 60 hours with it. For worse, not for the better. Yup, Ochimusha said, expected a mix of DMC action with Final Fantasy VII remake style mixed match of skills to deal with the enemy types and Final Fantasy 14 mechanics for flavor. Instead, got Garuda spam combo, Garuda stagger, LB, Titan, Phoenix repeat. Unfortunately, this is a very good comment that explains what people would expect out of Final Fantasy games. However, I did not expect anything. That's one of the things you have to know about my reviews, except for some biased. I don't do biased reviews, except maybe I've done 1 or 2 first person or first impression or complete reviews, and that's about it. But overall, I really don't have expectations. That's why I don't watch trailers beforehand, barely watch anything, barely have any information about the game that I'm about to cover, because the point for me is to go in the game without any expectations and with as clear mind as possible, because expectations dilute objectivity. You expect something, then if you don't get it, then you are disappointing more than you would have been if you weren't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting anything because I know that Final Fantasies have different way of doing things now than it was then. Then you could expect things to be the same, or at least similar, but here you can't, and that was proven, right? So this is unfortunately a problem. He expected DMC action with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake has the best combination of action and tactics, with a slight turn-based system in place where there's a lot of tactics and strategy on how to implement all these abilities, and there's a lot of downtime, so you have to really pay attention to what you're doing, and I think that game has vastly superior combat to this. And I think that type of combat would be perfect for Final Fantasy 16. But yeah, instead you got pretty same-ish ability spams that I also noted in the review that happens way too often. Then we have, thanks for the review. After them, I was sure that Final Fantasy 16 will be like Asura's Wrath. Haven't played Asura's Wrath, so I don't know. When you first play episode, it takes 20-30 minutes. Then you go to repeat it and you see the episode time was 40 to 90 seconds. 90% of the episode was anime and QTE. Now, some people might like that. That's the subjective thing. I like cinematic games. I really do like them if they are done right, like God of War, for example. But I can't respond to this as I haven't played Asura's Wrath. Now, in this game, I can't say that 90% of the game were cutscenes. I'd say about 50 to 60, maybe 60%. But that's the problem with the overall combat system. Combat system in this game and the lack of any challenge makes it look like that you are constantly just watching cutscenes because you weren't invested in the combat enough in order to feel like you did something, like you progressed, like you were challenged, like you had to invest yourself into that combat, because that takes it out of you emotionally. For example, in old Final Fantasies, when you were battling different types of bosses, enemies, and so on, the issue was that, not the issue was, but the solution was to long cutscenes and all that, long fights as well. So turn-based combat worked great in Final Fantasies before because you were really for a longer time into these fights. And while you were for a longer time into these fights, then you had a relief by watching a cutscene, and you were fearful of having to repeat these things again. because you didn't want to, because it was challenging, it lasted a long time, and you really didn't want to get through it all again. So when cutscene played out afterwards, you were relieved. You, god damn, I succeeded at something. Now I get to see progression of the story and of the gameplay. But in this game, gameplay remains the same unchallenging ability spam, and then you just go into cutscenes, and gameplay gets done quickly. And that's one of the bad things about it. That's the problem with pacing. Let's go next. I pretty much agree with your review. Always a bad sign for me when I'm looking for something new to play way before the end. I just finished Bahamut. Shame, really, the mechanics are good. I agree, there are some really good mechanics, just not a challenge. Yes, completely agree. Map play, area layout is archaic. Reminds me of Tales of Xillia. I agree there as well, that map play, area layout is archaic, but it can work. They just needed to do a little bit more with it, but I think it's not something that you need to scratch immediately, the whole idea of a layout. Story is fine, but not great. Agree as well. Boss fights look epic, but are quickly reduced to quick time events without the quick. Okay, that's an interesting point. There's a lot of quick time events, but without the quick, so they are time events. Yeah, good point. But boss fights are epic. I agree there. Boss fights are phenomenal. Too bad they aren't challenging, but goddamn, they are epic. In visuals, in aesthetics of the fight, in aesthetics of the enemy. Ultima is phenomenal. I love Ultima. Definitely understand that, no issue here, I guess. I do enjoy the game a lot myself, but also wish the game was harder at the beginning. All the New Game Plus with Final Fantasy is a bit of a challenge, that's for sure. It isn't. New Game Plus is too easy as well, unfortunately. I only disagree on the story because it definitely was great to me and the bosses were cool as fuck. There definitely was 2 or 3 so QTs for them, but they were all fully playable, so that's fine with me and I hope you're well. Okay. So that's a nice comment, mature, all that, but you can see that a lot of people, and you're gonna see in further comments, that a lot of people that defend the game and they are really enjoying it, liking it, still only argument they have is the subjective one. I'm really enjoying it and having fun with it. That's great, but it doesn't put out an argument. It's not an argument. It's not a point you are making. I'm glad that you're enjoying. I'm always glad that people who buy the games are enjoying them. That's great. That's how it should be, right? But it's not an argument that I'm enjoying and liking. I only disagree on the story because it definitely was great to me and the bosses were cool as fuck. Bosses were cool as fuck, I agree. I don't think the story was great. I think it has some holes in it, but it was, I'd say, good. I'd say it was a good story, and I didn't like that there's a lot of Game of Thrones copy-paste, but okay, it's fine. I think that they did a good job there. Nonetheless, good, great. That's the subjective part, if you think it's good, decent, or great. But it's out there. It's in that spectrum of quality. Man, I'm so glad I love this game. Shame you don't, but that's normal for games. I myself can't wait to keep playing. See, this is one of the things that I don't think people understand when watching reviews, which I also pointed out earlier. Who says I never enjoyed or loved the game? I never loved the game, to be honest, because I start from zero emotions. And that's how I build up my thoughts on the game from absolute zero. No expectations, no emotional attachment, even though I really like Final Fantasy games. But I really enjoyed the game for the first 20 to 30 hours, and I enjoyed part of the story later on. But no one said that I don't love the game. That's true, I don't love the game, but I never said I don't enjoy it or I don't like it or something like that. People, there are levels of enjoyment, levels of likeness, likingness, that's not a word, but levels of positive reactions to the game or negative reactions to the game. Not everything is to the extreme. If someone doesn't like something or likes something, that's not how world works. That's not how anything works. This comment says Final Fantasy 15 with better action and moody dialogue. Maybe with tweaks and changes the bastards can elevate it to 7 or 8. I agree there. I think actually Final Fantasy 16 has better story than Final Fantasy 15 and better dialogues and better characters. I think they have improved in that regard, but they haven't improved in terms of combat. I think that Final Fantasy 15 even has more challenging combat and fighting, but don't take me on my word because I really don't know. I've played it a long time ago, and I do recall that I had more issues with Final Fantasy 15 when it comes to difficulty, and that the game challenged me at times. But I might be completely wrong. I don't know. I know that I liked the game. I didn't love it. I think it had some good stuff. It had some bad stuff. Which one is better? I think it's subjective, really. But they are close in quality. This game is so easy I quit after level 26. That's what another person said there. Yeah, for something new to play way before the end. I'm not using any of those new items and on action difficulty, and I barely ever get hit. Horrible. That's the problem of the difficulty. If you're not challenged in a game, then you'll eventually get bored. It's inevitable. No matter how flashy, how good the combat is, how superior you feel, oh, I'm destroying everything, that's all fine. But eventually you want to take your build to test, take your skill to test, because if you don't, then you're stuck watching a movie and just playing through the rest of it on automatic. And that's not a good thing. You want to be immersed in a game, and immersion also comes from difficulty through immersion of gameplay also comes through difficulty. That's one part of it. And then everything becomes emphasized. If you are in a difficult fight, then soundtrack sounds even better, even though soundtrack in this game is perfect. But soundtrack sounds even better, even more hyped, even more brings that immersion factor to a new level. Then all sound effects look even cooler when you perform something that you couldn't, then you were specifically waiting a time to do, or that you are close to the end, or maybe the boss got you there, and so got you for a second or two, and now you're in trouble, and so on. So these are all the factors that get emphasized with the difficulty. Without a difficulty, all that drops. All that excitement, hype, and positive feelings drop a little bit, depending on how, or to what level, depending on at what level the difficulty is. If the difficulty drops a lot in a game and you really are never challenged like in this game, then that feeling of excitement is going to drop as well, at least through the gameplay. I'm glad I played it, but really wish I had your review before launch. Your reviews are great, sir. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. Every company gave it 9 out of 10, so I expected more. 9 out of 10. People you shouldn't trust. I'm just going to say, I'm not boosting myself. I just wanted to say that there's a lot of great reviewers on YouTube. I don't watch any reviewers, by the way. I only watched Angry Joe back in the day because I don't want anyone influencing my opinion. But I know there's a lot of great reviewers out there, so check them out on YouTube. Forget about GameSpot, forget about IGN. Although IGN had some nice reviews, I've seen, at least from the scores, that they've given to some games same score as I did, which is kind of, all right, because I'm hard on games, which is my kind of thing, because I don't let things slide, because it's your money that I'm trying to save from a game that potentially isn't worth it. Just like Diablo 4 mainstream reviewers failed. Now I don't know anything about it. I haven't watched a single Diablo 4 review. I don't even know how was it scored. So it's going to be interesting when I put out my review. But my review for Diablo 4 is going to be one of those rare biased reviews, because I don't respect the genre at all. I think the whole genre sucks, and I'm going to put my points in the review why and all that. Still, Diablo 4, for that genre that it is, I think it's quite a good game for that crappy genre. I platinumed all Final Fantasies and never regretted a single dollar, but this is definitely wait for sale for me. They should have named this differently like they did with Stranger Paradise. I don't think they should have renamed it differently, because this game hits a lot of Final Fantasy notes in regards to storytelling. Characters are a little bit different than before, but there's a lot of similar ones as well. So I don't think that they should have named it differently, but I can understand going to a new style. But they raised the bar with Final Fantasy VII Remake combat, even though the game was way too linear, and that was the only downside for me. Not only, but the major one. I think they could have done a lot more with this. This feels like a very, very basic compared to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Actually, funny though, so someone else said the same thing about being another game instead of a mainline one, and that's understandable. I personally enjoyed it myself a lot and definitely still recommend to get it on a sale, but for sure this review was something I respected. I still think it's a great game, but it's nice to see your review and the videos as well. See, this is what I'm talking. I love to see these types of comments. We all disagree, people. It's fine. We don't need to agree. We don't need to be brainwashed idiots thinking alike. No, that's not the point. I never want that on my channel. I want people to always oppose me, but oppose me with arguments, not oppose me with I liked it, so you're wrong. That's not an argument. That's nothing. To me, when I see that comment, that's nothing. I really want to delete that type of comment so that it doesn't, so that those types of comments don't spread on the channel. But I don't delete them. I really rarely moderate anything, and I really stick by that. I moderated a little bit couple years ago, but I stopped doing that completely. I just let it slide. Fuck it. You do you. I always enjoy your work, brother. Thank you, mate. Honest and well fleshed out. I'm no fanboy, but you're probably my favorite reviewer. Equal first anyway. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. This may be due to the fact that I'm exactly the target audience you referred at the beginning of the presentation. Yeah, that's important to know. I've never been much of a Final Fantasy guy, to be honest, and given your review, that's unlikely to change with this iteration. That's a realistic point. That's a realistic viewpoint. Seems strange to me that with this much franchise experience, Square Enix would drop the ball on what in the end are always going to be the most important aspects of a game, and quite frankly, a game's longevity, combat, gameplay, and progression. Yeah, he's got a point. Thanks for all the work, man. I look forward to the next. Thank you for the comment, mate. Appreciate it. First modern mainline Final Fantasy game without a minigame, by the way. Oh, wow. This is a very constructive comment, because I missed that, for example. I don't care about minigames in games, but one of the minigames that really blew me away was the Star Wars Jedi Survivor, that Holo Battles thing. Holo Battles thing was an amazing minigame. I loved it. But not many games have that type of quality when it comes to their minigames. It's so strange that they didn't do the most simple thing and make a hard mode available from the beginning. Well, that's the problem. Even their hard mode is not hard. It's actually the same thing. With Metal Gear Solid 1 to 4, oh, one of my favorite franchises ever, you could simply put the game on hard extreme so that when the 40-minute cutscenes occurred, you felt like you needed a breather and had earned them. Yeah, exactly what I was talking about earlier. Also, those games had AI detected smarter as the difficulty was increased, and these are titles from over 20 years ago. Okay, that's a great point. That's a video I want to do. I wanted to do, for some time now, series of videos called Why Modern Gaming Sucks. And the way difficulty is done is definitely one of the topics I wanted to discuss. I'll take both the video. See, this is the type of comment that doesn't provide anything. I put dislike, yeah, fine. I'll let it, but I don't know if these things even count, to be honest. I don't know why YouTube removed dislikes from the bar. It's a shitty fucking feel-good tube now. Not YouTube, but a feel-good tube. I hate that shit. I want to see likes and dislikes immediately. I want that to be so people can see it. I'm playing the game and having an absolute blast. Great review as always. Glad you're having a blast, mate. Really, you haven't spent your money on a game that you would hate or not like or feel like it's a waste of time. That's great. Hard mode, the DLC incoming. Dropko says, even if it drops, I wouldn't play it. A reason is that the game doesn't have good character progression in order for me to be invested into more playtime with the game. It's gonna be full on action as well, and it's gonna also be, they would have to reconstruct AI on a lot of things for this game to work on hard mode properly with a proper challenge, and not just what if they do hard mode DLC, it's gonna be most likely just increased damage done by enemies and increase their health bars, which is not a difficulty that you want in games. That's where God of War Ragnarok failed, and the first one as well, and the prior iterations too. I love God of Wars, absolutely love them, but they failed in that department. The love scene between Clive and Jill was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. These people have no clue how to write romantic beats or an actual human-like connection. When and why did they get naked? Yeah, it wasn't a good scene. I agree. It failed. The build-up to it felt rushed, especially when they constantly interrupt their scenes previously, making you think there's a big payoff, but nope, just a kiss which they didn't even show properly. Yeah, maturating my ass. They can show naked people, butt cheeks and side boobs, but not a romantic kiss. Because it's soulless, that's why the whole game is soulless. I wouldn't say that the whole game is soulless. I think it has a lot of soul in terms of presentation and story and all that, but there's a lot of soulless aspects to it. I would agree with that. Excellent review. This relegates Final Fantasy VI to buy on sale status. I think that's fair. Do you think the slower storytelling would have meshed better with a slower combat system, or is the flow and progression just worked? All right, so now I've responded to this. I'm just gonna read my response. This is like driving in traffic. Sometimes you get to move, then halt again and wait it out. Pretty much, yeah. But combat style, what I said is combat style is not an issue. I really do think that combat style is not an issue. I do think, however, it would work better with something like Final Fantasy VII Remake combat that is vastly superior. Lack of challenge, that is the main issue. By steamrolling everything, game goes too fast into more storytelling, so pacing doesn't work due to contradiction between fast and easy combat and slow and meaningful story. There are many ways to improve this, but it would require rebalancing, and they're doing a lot of stuff. You know what is the problem with the lack of challenge? Players will just button mash their way through the game, ignoring the cool combos you can pull off. Yeah, that's a good point, because if you're not tested, if you aren't tested to actually combine these combos, utilize some of the good mechanics that the game has, you can really string nice combos together. Why should you? Why should you? You want to go through the enemies as fast as possible in any game. That's sort of the progression of the build and progression of the gameplay, that you're getting better and better. With, of course, if the challenge gets higher, then progression is gonna stall. That's good difficulty management. But you can pull off great combos. I did put that as a positive in the game. You can really do a lot of combos, and they are nice. They really work well together, and the abilities, going through between abilities is smooth. You can combine a lot of things and so on. That's great, but you are never really forced to use it, which is a shame. Very good review. Even though I don't share the same thoughts on everything, I'm glad I got some perspective from this. And yeah, I wish they had added hard mode from the very start and added more challenging for New Game Plus. Yeah. I just don't understand these types of games. Why is it called RPG? You aren't playing any role. You are just watching cutscenes. This is basically just a slightly interactive anime where you get to pilot the character in battles, which look and play out like Genshin Impact, flashy but repetitive and boring. The story is okay, but these Final Fantasies should better be made into anime, not games. Now, look, role-playing games, that's a thing that is out there to define. Every game is technically a role-playing game, right? You are role-playing always someone or something, even if you have created a character or not. I always attach role-playing aspects to more of character progression than to story progression and how story is written and so on, and how the world is done. For example, if you don't think RPGs are linear, then Final Fantasy VII Remake is not an RPG as well. So you see the problem. You can always put some aspects that would redefine what RPG is for you or for me. We all have different perceptions of what an RPG game really is. Now, I do agree with to some of the point here, to one of the point here, which is that the game kind of plays like an anime novel or something like that. It does a little bit at times. Unfortunately, this is where I also said in the review that anime aspect of the storytelling is not a good one, because it doesn't add anything except for the final fight. I really liked it in the final fight. They really hyped it nicely and they did it well. But other than that, they talk some serious stuff and they go into some anime bullshit. Your time is past or some shit like that. Not even get me into that. What is that? What is happening? What is going on? He's seen it 15 times already, but he has to say what for sake of what is the point of that? I mean, sometimes I feel these anime dialogues are retarded, I swear. Now, I watched I'm not into anime, but I watched a couple of anime movies and series: Death Note, Ghost in the Shell, Dragon Ball Z, of course. For example, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z is terrible when it comes to writing of fights and so on. They basically fight for 10 episodes and it's, honestly, I get pissed off, you get pissed off. Same like in this game. Same shit. You can put the same perspective in this. I think that why people love Dragon Ball Z is because of the characters. Characters have been written fantastically. And that's why it's such an interesting thing to watch. These fights, for me, were great when I was a kid, but I tried watching Dragon Ball Z later on. And honestly, I appreciated the characters more than anything else. Characters were quite interesting, but the fights themselves, they're kind of, you know who's going to win. They're going to do this. They're going to get pissed off. Then it's stupid. Look, let's be honest, it's stupid. But it's fun to watch. It's fun time to... And Just because it's stupid doesn't mean it can't be fun, right? Now imagine being so wrong. This is type of comments that really, as I said, imagine having no constructive argument, but just typing something for the sake of saying anything. That's literally that. I think you're on the money here. It had a chance to be something unique, but like most AAA games today, it's more the movie and flash experience style rather than substance. Not only that, but repetitiveness and a lot of the things that I'm going to mention in upcoming videos about why modern gaming sucks. Not modern gaming, but pardon me, modern AAA gaming. Welcome to JRPGs for the last 30 years. No, that's not a correct statement. JRPGs in the last 30 years have changed a lot, but JRPGs were the shit back in the day. Breath of Fire, Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy 7 to 9. 10 was also great, but I wouldn't call it as great as 7 to 9. That's subjective completely. Let's not get into that. You had so many great RPG, Legend of Dragoon. I mean, so many great ones that I can't recall most of them. What was that? Vagrant Story, for example, and those. There were so many diverse JRPGs back in the day, and then they started to do some horseshit with those games, Hyper Dimension, Neptunia, whatever, that I tried to play, but those games are really bad. Really fucking bad. I don't know who that caters. I think that caters to anime audience, and that's about it. Only they can swallow that shit, because I couldn't personally. I couldn't. I hate the reward screen. If you just fought trash mobs, you need to sit through the reward. I agree, it was unnecessary completely. I guess you hate all the old games too then. That's not the case, because in old games you were turn-based. You got into combat, meaning the screen changed, and then when you're exiting the screen you get that another screen with the reward. So there's a different dynamic there, because you enter a fight, screen changes, it's a different perspective, everything changes. So having a clear reward on that is good. It can be also better if it wasn't, but it makes a lot more sense. In Final Fantasy 16, you go from fight to fight. There is nothing in between. So that screen is pointless because there's nothing in between. My problem with the game is that it feels dated. It tries to go for DMC style combat and can't beat DMC4 or Bayonetta, for example, which are 10 plus years old games now. I agree there. It tries to go for the mix of linear plus open areas, admittedly inspired by God of War 2018 by Joshi P himself, and it doesn't even come close to God of War or even the recently released Jedi Survivor. I do agree there as well. Honestly, I feel like Square Enix is very out of touch with the rest of the industry, much like Game Freak with Pokemon. I don't know about Pokemon or Game Freak, I never played it, so got no clue, but I agree with this statement. Square Enix has been troubling last 5, 6, 7 years, except for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think that game is really good, great even. And the way they've redone some of the things, the characters were phenomenal. Combat was phenomenal, but the linearity of it killed a little bit of that JRPG open world that you could also explore all the time. Feel free to roam, to do your stuff and so on. The main quest set pieces and dungeon design in the game is miserable. It's very reminiscent of PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era level design, consisting of corridors that lead to square or circular areas with a combat encounter that leads to another corridor that leads to an elevator that takes the player to another floor with the exact same pattern repeated. Now this is a very detailed and a good point. I think that layout is not necessarily a problem. I think what you do with the layout matters. But this comment is spot on when it comes to Final Fantasy 16. It really feels dated in that regard. In the open areas, this is also a problem with Final Fantasy VII Remake. In the open areas, there's an insane amount of invisible walls everywhere, including in the middle of the map, not just the borders. Yeah, I agree. RPG elements are tacked on, there's no elemental weaknesses, buffs, debuffs, etc. Yeah, character progression, RPG elements. RPGs, that's one point what I look at in games that are RPGs, because you gotta have some strategy to it all. You gotta have some tactical depth. Otherwise, it really is relegated to just an action game, which is fine if you want to be action, but even action games have elemental weaknesses and play on a lot of things. Enemies have weaknesses and strengths. In this game, none of the enemies have weaknesses and strengths from what I've seen. They are not particularly weak to anything or strong against something. What is interesting is that I don't think it's a coincidence that Square is so good at making 2D HD retro JRPGs but sucks at making modern games. Yeah, like Octopath Traveler, for example. Playing Octopath Traveler is amazing. In my opinion, they are stuck in their old ways for too long and have been struggling to adapt. Brilliant point. This guy knows what he's talking about. They got a renowned combat designer but forgot that you also need good enemy and counter designers for that to mean anything. Great point. And challenging enough difficulty, if the game is too easy, players will just beat the game by button smashing instead of trying out doing combos that can put a lot more of DPS. This issue happens with Final Fantasy 16. I don't really think that combo stringing will bring you a lot more DPS. It's all about the ability spam and in what order you ability spam. Because if you do that in a proper order, like I've showed in my OP build, you can do ridiculous amount of damage. You can go far more than I did in that video, but that was not even by the end of the game. And I didn't even have best equipment and so on. So you can do more. I'm still probably going to play the game, but this is exactly what I was afraid of when they went with the full action combat system. If I'm going to plow through combat like I'm playing DMC, then I want a DMC 5 style cutscenes. Quick, flashy, then back to the fighting. That would be better, yeah, if they want to go through that. That works much better because pacing is pretty much on the same level as the pacing of the story is on the same level as pacing of the gameplay, or at least at similar levels. So there's not huge discrepancy there, which would affect the overall pacing of the game, which Final Fantasy 16 is probably one of the worst things about the game next to character progression. If they're sticking with a Final Fantasy 7 style slow fantasy JRPG story, great, but then I want something meatier to do in gameplay so I don't feel like I'm just tearing apart enemies between cutscenes. Good point, exactly. A lack of character customization progression in a Final Fantasy game just feels criminal. I agree there as well. I think I don't feel the same way as DMC fan, yeah, but given how this is the first time they're attempting it, I'm fine with how it went and been having fun regardless. Can be improved on for sure. Can be improved, definitely. I think they also did an okay job, but that's about it. I can't give them more credit to that. Visual effects, 10 out of 10, without a doubt. It's cool, it's epic and all that, but that meaty part that this comment was saying is missing. The review that I've been waiting for, thank you mate. The issue with cringe moments and the cinematic battle stuff is because they didn't just copy DMC5, they copied Asura's Wrath also, which is cringe and a bit over the top, but that worked for its time and crazy story. This game tried to take stuff from both games with Game of Thrones light story and it could have worked, but they just missed it. The over the top stuff wasn't done right to mesh well with the rest aside in few moments. The final cinematic face punch on final boss is a massive homage to Asura's Wrath. Yeah, alright, but that's also to every anime in the book. Dragon Ball Z, it's always a massive something. They even made a few bosses like the Grigori Safi, Shiva, Dragonet, S, Huntreng, do Asura's Wrath near style attacks and combat. This comment is a little bit difficult to read because I'm not good enough at reading good with English so that I can read comments well without punctuation. Things like that. I really struggle with that. It's a hodgepodge of ideas that needed another year to refine down into a cohesive game. I agree there. It absolutely isn't a bad game. Absolutely right. And it is a Final Fantasy game in terms of world, etc. But it's also not in terms of gameplay. Well, that's your perception of Final Fantasy. As I said, that's subjective. I do agree to an extent, but I never really expected this game to be turn-based or anything like that. It's all about how well you do with the current system. The potential it had to be something really, really insanely good is there if they made another game, say 16.2 or 17 or DLC and just adjusted the game like they did with 15 so we could have something special in our hands. Well, I don't like that. I don't like that. If you're gonna be adjusting stuff, then you adjust it through updates, not through so I don't have to buy your game again. Are you intentionally making a game shitty so that I have to buy your game again? Because I'm never gonna buy Final Fantasy second version of the original. I'm not gonna, because I already experienced the story. I don't need it for the gameplay's sake. I really don't. These games are story driven, and they do have significant gameplay except for the Final Fantasy 16. And there's a lot to be experienced through the gameplay, but if you already experienced the story itself, that's just my personal take, I don't want to repeat the game again. Right now, though, it's fun. It's a complete game with the worst issues being technical ones. If you ran into high settings, the console legit can't handle it, and the cringe moments and pacing are a bit derpy. Okay, I played on frame rate, so can't comment on that. The game's leveling abilities and items I agree are an issue, but one they can fix, thankfully. Unfortunately, I don't think they can fix that. This would need redoing of the whole... Well, there's no system in place, so they would just need to create one. But creating a system and putting it in the game, that wouldn't work anymore. I can see why some people, maybe in the, as you said, second iteration or something like that. I can see why some people will want it to be a Game of the Year nominee. Again, this is people. Okay, let's be honest with yourself. Game of the Year nominee. What? How? Why? There's no, just no. Play any other game, you're gonna see a lot. Not any other, but I mean, I don't know, the last couple of games that I played, for example, Shadow Gambit, played the demo of it. That game is far superior to this. Far superior in terms of quality. And it's just... presentation is not everything. I like good presentation as well, but it's not everything, people. This can never be a Game of the Year. If this game wins Game of the Year, then I don't know. I mean, honestly, who gives a shit? These rewards are shitty anyway. Who the fuck believes the reward? It's like believing Oscars that they have the best movie chosen. No, they don't. That's a subjective thing anyway. You can't really say what's best. What's best for you is not best for me, well, and vice versa. I won't say otherwise, but objectively, Game of the Year nominee, it can't be. Then that means that this has been a shitty year for gaming. Honestly, my memory is shot. I can't recall any game that I played recently, but I'm sure I played better games than Final Fantasy 16. But goddamn, not one game is in my mind. Can't believe that. Okay. It was complete Game of Life 15. It's solid in a lot of areas, but definitely can't call it GOTY winner, just a mention at best. Mention? No, not even a mention. This isn't the best step in a new direction for Final Fantasy, either for future games or non-main numbered title games. Okay, I see the point there. Honestly, the potential is there, and that what we got wasn't what it could have been, but it was solid enough. I think that's a fair assessment. It's a step in the right direction for Square Enix to put people who gave a shit and who were right for their roles on the game and to make it happen, which is the best thing about the game, seeing Square Enix finally not fuck something up again. Well, I think they fucked up a lot of things in this game, so... solid experience, as you've said, but they fucked up a lot of things. For what it's worth, though, it's definitely worth checking out if it goes on sale. If you're a DMC Asura's Red Nier or Final Fantasy fan, it's a sure pickup. Shame they couldn't hit the mark, but they didn't hit the bullseye. But they didn't completely miss target either, so let's hope this leads to some good stuff in the future from Square Enix and hell, maybe Capcom if the combat director goes back to them again. Yeah, alright, I can agree with that. It's not a bullseye, they didn't completely miss the target. Yeah, I agree. Damn, the no challenge is the real turn off for me. I like DMC5 for how deep the combat is and also how it tests you. Yeah, so seeing this having a similar combat had me very excited. Said, well, there's plenty of challenge if you don't cheat. Cheat how? Game is not even available on PC. What cheating are you talking about exactly? If you mean taking advantage of game mechanics, then you are a fool to call it cheating. It's just like DMC, you use everything at your disposal, e.g. jump, cancel, etc. It's not cheating. Yeah, I agree there. There's no cheating there. These are the systems that you are using. Cheating is a different thing. Cheating is exploiting a mechanic that isn't working properly. That's cheating. These mechanics, jump, cancel, and so on, these things work properly. That's how it works. That's how it's done in action games. And this is an action game. We have established that. Sounds like Kingdom Hearts 3, but with better writing and new RPG systems. Hopefully they patch a harder difficulty. I haven't played that a long time ago, so I don't know. Can't compare those two. Warning, long ratings. I'm a Heater fanboy. Oh, that's Robert. Robert never uses punctuation, which is going to be difficult for me to read. I guess because whenever a company makes a game a certain way and then changes the course based off of pure profit, doesn't care about the fans. I wouldn't say that. I can see the way you think, why you would think, because if you're not in line with what the game is did earlier, then if it changes too much, then it's not really a game that you are used to. But every game needs to change eventually. So how it changes is more of a question than what they changed. I say something, but instead of a Heater fan, I don't know what Heater fanboy is. A passionate realist and a conservative, I'll give you an analogy. Say I pushed this hooker, I know what I'm purchasing. I push this hooker, I know what I'm purchasing, I know what I'm expecting. Beast of the name and experience and bases and all that. Shit, sorry guys, this is very difficult for me to read and to put into perspective. Sorry Robert, don't get offended mate or anything like that. Robert is always on the streams and always supports videos. I respect him a lot. A really smart guy, hard-working guy as well. I really like him. But he always does this shit. He uses text to speech to text, and it's always difficult to read if there are longer comments. But I appreciate the comment nonetheless, mate. Clive, what? Yeah. Mistakes? Nah. See, what's the point of this comment? There's no point. There's no argument. There's no you did this, I disagree because of da. No. Mistakes? Nah. I say mistakes, yes. So where are we after that? Nowhere, right? Anyway, if you sat through this video, I appreciate it. Hopefully I've answered some. I really think the comments were really positive, and I think there's been a lot of great things mentioned here. Just goes to show how much this community has grown and how much I appreciate it personally. So anyway, thank you all for commenting. Thank you all for supporting. Plenty of stuff coming over the summer. So yeah, see you soon.